Welcome back to Ozarks Live. It's time for another edition of Dollars and Cents.
That's right. Tom joins us now from the Resource Center. Tom, how's it going?
Things are going fine. Now today we're going to talk to your disability rep, Roy Rickster. Roy, good to see you again.
Likewise, good to see you, Tom.
Now you said something to me when I came in and it just kind of opened my eyes. I never really thought about it. Seasonally, things tend to change. Fall is a time when people tend to hurt themselves, I think is the way I would look at it.
Yeah, fall is the season for overdoing it, that's for sure. And what I wanted to talk with folks today a little bit about is when we talk with our doctors, we go in the fall, a lot of times we see things that pop up in the medical records that can ultimately hurt their claim.
Right.
We don't think a lot of times about the stuff that goes along with fall and how that plays in our medical records. Like, for example, yard work, leaves. You know, you and I see leaves that need to be picked up.
Right.
But if those things pop up in the med records that you hurt yourself raking leaves or you were raking leaves, you know, Social Security sees that as bending, twisting,
Exactly.
squatting. Same thing applies with deer season. Very popular this time of year. I'm not telling folks not to deer hunt necessarily,
Right.
because there are some handicapped accessible deer hunting options for folks that are out there. But you know, if you're out there deer hunting, you're concentrating, attention to task, you're persistent, you're around uneven ground, you may climb, you may lift if you're successful. If nothing else, you're out in the elements. So
Yes.
if you're a COPD claim, for example, you know, the wetness, the humidity, the cold, those things all show up in the medical records just
Yeah.
because of the fact that we mentioned we were deer hunting.
Now those two, okay, that's easy to see. This is one I never thought about.
Well, right. You know, we talk about big meals this month, Thanksgiving, for example. You know,
Right.
there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. There's a lot of multitasking. It's difficult for folks. We also have to deal with the family stress of our relatives coming in for the holidays. If
Yeah.
you have social anxiety issues or generalized anxiety issues, Thanksgiving would be a very taxing time. And if those things reflect in our medical records that we've been working hard to prepare for Thanksgiving, Social Security looks at that and says, okay, well, if you can work hard to prepare for Thanksgiving, could you work hard to prepare for a job or handle worker type tasks?
And that's why that communication and everything is so important with your doctor.
Right. A couple other things, you know, shopping. We start preparing for the Christmas season. We have to go out in public and do a lot of shopping. Fortunately, we can do some of that online now, but still there's big crowds, there's money management, there's that interaction with the public that comes into play. And if that's your disability, you know, folks are going to say, your doctor and Social Security are going to say, no, what gives? How are you able to handle these crowds if your social anxiety is so bad that you can't work?
Right. And then decorations, of course.
Yeah.
Now again, it's the twisting, the stretching, the climbing.
Yep, working on ladders. You know, folks with bad knees probably shouldn't be on ladders. I'm not going to lecture folks about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you are on ladders in the medical records, it begs the question. And even bonfires and working up firewood for the year, you know, it's hard work for a lot of folks.
Sure it is.
These things appear in our medical records. And unfortunately, there's not any kind of backstory that goes along with them to kind of explain the context.
Right. Is this also a case where someone may be also observing you if you are making a claim that, oh, I can't do this because my back, and they're going to like eyeball you to make sure you're following that?
So Social Security, if they suspect fraud, they can order an investigation. They can have somebody come and watch. Most definitely they can.
All right.
But what happens this time of year is rare activities appear in the medical records, and there's no way of knowing if those are rare things that you're doing because of the season,
Right.
or if they're on normal activity level. And so we have to keep in mind that even our casual conversations with our doctors oftentimes appear in our medical records. If the doctor comes in and says, hey, do you deer hunt? Oh yeah, I've been out there watching the deer. We don't know if you're watching deer or if you're actually up in a tree stand. I have a good friend who hunts from his couch in his living room. He opens a window and shoots at the deer, honest to goodness. And there may be that level of activity, or you may be out hiking the mountains in western Colorado. Both of
Yeah.
those things are hunting. And so we want to make sure that we have some context. And that brings us to the last point, you know, explain things thoroughly. Even though it is friendly banter with your doctor, take the time to explain to them what this activity really looks like. Don't leave that misconception there. When you walk out of the room, the doctor records what your conversation was about, and you want to make sure that it's an accurate portrayal of what you're truly doing.
Yes, so that last explained thoroughly, very important. Of course, a good idea to talk with the person like yourself who may be representing you, helping you through all the little pitfalls and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't realize that gearing up to file for Social Security disability is a preparation task in and of itself, and you kind of have to change the way that you approach some of your normal routines, talking to your doctor being one of them.
Right.
So we can certainly give folks some advice. We want to make sure they avoid those pitfalls, and consulting with a qualified representative such as myself helps with that.
People want to consult with you, want information, how do they get it?
Well, they can give me a ring here at the Resource Center at the 417-882-1800. Our QR code should appear on the screen here.
Yep.
And yourdisabilityrep.com is my website. More videos and information there. Or stop by. I'm just off South National on Kingsley across from the old Zio's restaurant. I'd love to visit with folks in person.
All right, Roy, thanks. Good to see you again.
Likewise, Tom.
There you are. Good advice once again from the Resource Center. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Tom. I'm always so appreciative of the advice that they give over at the Resource Center because
Things that we would actually not think about.
right, there's so many aspects of your finances and managing your finances that people just don't really think about or I don't know, ever really explore. So it's nice to hear those different aspects of it.
I
So
agree.
yeah.